rival of the Allied powers. Her booming prosperity was closely linked to their fortunes. If U-boats could not check the flow of vital war material from America to Europe, Germany must try other ways. She turned to sabotage. Warehouses and factories supplying the Allies were burnt down, bombs were planted. A huge German espionage and sabotage ring was uncovered, with evidence that it had spent nearly $30 million of German government money, disbursed through the military and naval attaches. America insisted on their recall. Her relations with Germany deteriorated further still. Yet the months went by without any definite consequence of America's ripening hostility towards the Central Powers. The anniversary of the Lusitania's sinking approached. It was April 1916. Suddenly, once more, the pendulum took a counterswing. From Dublin came news of the Easter Rebellion in Ireland and of its swift suppression by British forces. The execution of captured rebels, spread over 10 days, infuriated millions of Irish Americans and revived their ancient hatred. The British ambassador in Washington reported,
"The attitude towards England has been changed for the worse. Our cause for the present among the Irish here is a lost one."
In America, 1916 was an election year. The war was the dominant issue. The election campaigns of the parties crystallized the sway of opinion. Neutralism, the profound wish to stay out of the war, still possessed a doughty champion in the president. Support for Wilson's policy was strong in the Middle West and Pacific states. Europe's war seemed more remote there than on the Atlantic seaboard. At the Democratic Convention, Wilson was renominated presidential candidate. The chairman opened his speech with a text from the Sermon on the Mount.
"Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God."
He was applauded to the echo. Up and down the United States, Wilson fought his campaign on the slogan, "He kept us out of the war." The Republican candidate against Wilson was Charles Hughes, strongly backed by Theodore Roosevelt. Their policy was preparedness. They wanted a bigger army, universal military training, more aggressive American leadership. Roosevelt taunted Wilson with
the shadows of men, women, and children who have risen from the ooze of the ocean. The shadows of babies gaping pitifully as they sank under the waves. The shadows of deeds that were never done. The shadows of lofty words that were followed by no action. The shadows of the tortured dead.
Woodrow Wilson was re-elected, but his majority fell sharply. The portents were becoming unmistakable. Yet Wilson clung to his ideal of peace.
There will be no war. This country does not intend to become involved in war. It would be a crime against civilization for us to go into it.
Once again, it was Germany's own acts which swung the balance against her. On January the 31st, 1917, Germany informed America of her intention to carry out unrestricted submarine warfare. This meant that all shipping, including neutrals, whether carrying contraband or not, would be sunk at sight without warning anywhere in Allied waters. Stage by stage, President Wilson's campus ideals were being battered down by war reality. Stage by stage, he resisted the evidence and its implications.
I refuse to believe that it is the intention of the German authorities to do in fact what they have warned us they will feel at liberty to do. Only actual overt acts on their part can make me believe it even now.
Wilson was forced to believe. As vessel after vessel went down, Germany's ruthless determination became evident. The German ambassador in Washington was handed his passport, America broke off diplomatic relations and drafted a bill to arm her merchant ships. Now she stood on the very brink of war. The last act needed to drag her in was not slow in coming. In 1917, 4/5 of America's small army was embroiled with Mexico. Relations between the United States and her Latin neighbor had never been easy. The border along the Rio Grande was rarely quiet. Mexico's successive revolutions alarmed America, threatened her commercial interests, even the lives of her citizens. To Germany, this distant preoccupation was a godsend. If the American army was kept busy in Mexico, it could hardly come to Europe. Germany proposed an alliance to the Mexican government.
Germany makes Mexico a proposal of alliance on the following basis: make war together, make peace together, generous financial support, and an understanding on our part that Mexico is to reconquer the lost territory in Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. We suggest Mexico should invite Japan's immediate assistance and mediate between Japan and ourselves.
This was the secret Zimmermann telegram, one of history's most explosive documents. British naval intelligence had broken the German codes and selected its moment carefully to inform America of the contents of the telegram. They came as a thunderclap. This was a conspiracy to attack the very homeland of the United States. Isolationism withered away. The peace party collapsed. The fire eaters rose in their wrath, headed by Theodore Roosevelt, uttering a characteristic bellow of rage.
This man, Wilson, is enough to make the saints and the angels, yes, and the apostles swear, and I would not blame them. My God, why doesn't he do something? If he does not go to war with Germany, I shall skin him alive.
This was the end of the president's dream of peace. While he took his last agonizing decisions, Germany, for the last time, fortified his resolve by torpedoing 3 American merchant ships in one day. Now there was no choice. The peacemaker must go to war. On April 2nd, 1917, Woodrow Wilson drove to the Capitol to deliver a momentous address.
The wrongs against which we now array ourselves are not common wrongs. They cut to the very root of human life. I advise that Congress declare that it formally accept the status of a belligerent which is thus thrust upon it. It is a fearful thing to lead this great, peaceful people into war, into the most terrible and disastrous of all wars, civilization itself seeming to be in the balance. But the right is more precious than peace. The world must be made safe for democracy.
Wilson spoke for the whole nation. Yet the ecstatic cheers with which it applauded him only filled him with sorrowful wonder.
My message today was a message of death for our young men. How strange it seems to applaud that.
America was at war at last. The mood which swept her echoed the passionate violence of Europe in 1914. Winston Churchill wrote,
Pacifism, indifference, dissent were swept from the path and fiercely pursued to extermination. And with a roar of slowly gathered, pent-up wrath which overpowered in its din every discordant yell, the American nation sprang to arms.
all America's competitiveness, all her genius for publicity, were channeled into the war effort. The first war loan was oversubscribed by 50%. Anti-German feeling ran riot. Wagner's music was banned. Dachshunds were stoned. Sauerkraut was rechristened Liberty Cabbage, and Potsdam, Missouri, hurriedly changed its name to Pershing. Newspapers, magazines, and posters provided constant fuel for the nation's passion. Even in a prayer before the House of Representatives, Germany was remembered.
Thou knowest, O Lord, that no nation